Hi there, and welcome to this video that introduces the idea of Pythagoras' theorem. What Pythagoras' theorem tells us is that if we take the two shorter lengths of a triangle, square this length and square this length, and add the totals together, we will get the square of the longer length, the square of the hypotenuse. So for example, this length is 3, so if I squared the 3, I would have 9. This length is 4, if I squared the 4, I would have 16. If I took the total of the two squared regions, 9 and 16, and added them together, I'd get 25, which is the area of the blue square. So from that bit of information, we can work out the length of the hypotenuse, the length of this slanty side of a right angle triangle. And how we do that is we take this total of 25 and we square root it to get the length from here to here, which would be 5. Let's have a look at Pythagoras' theorem a bit more mathematically. Okay, so here we've got a question. We've got a right angle triangle. This line here is the hypotenuse. It's the slanty side of a right angle triangle. It is always opposite the right angle. And we are given the length of the two shorter sides, 6 centimeters and 7 centimeters. And we're asked to find the value of y, giving our answer to 3 significant figures. So what we know from Pythagoras' theorem is that the square of this side added to the square of this side is going to equal the square of this side. How I start any Pythagoras question is by labeling C, A, and B. C has to be on the hypotenuse, so the longest side is always labeled C. Where you label A and B, it doesn't really affect your maths, it doesn't really affect the calculation. Just ensure that your C is always on the hypotenuse. This is what my working out looks like. This is Pythagoras' theorem presented mathematically. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So what I'm saying there is the square of this line equals the square of this line added to the square of this line. You might see in some textbooks that this is presented as A squared plus B squared equals C squared. It's exactly the same, just two different ways to remember it, either A, B, C, or the way I've presented it, spelling the word carb. So now I'm going to use my knowledge of algebra and substitution to find the value of C. So the first thing I do is I substitute in my value of A. A is this side here, which is 6 centimeters. So 6 gets substituted in and replaces the A. This length here is 7 centimeters. We've labeled it B. So the 7 gets substituted in and replaces the B. From here, I'm going to square the 6 to get 36, and I'm going to square the 7 to get 49. Then I add my two squareds together to get 85. But that currently gives me y squared. So that currently gives me this length squared. And I don't want this length squared. I just want the length. So therefore I need to square root my 85. Once I put that into my calculator, the calculator will give me this answer. And I was asked to round to 3 SF, 3 significant figures. So I've rounded my answer to 9.22 centimeters. So what this answer is telling me is that the distance from here to here, the length of the hypotenuse, is 9.22 centimeters. Let's have a look at another example. Okay, so this time we are trying to find the value of y. But notice that the y this time is not on the hypotenuse. So we're trying to work out this length here. So this is the hypotenuse. This is my C value. I'm going to label this 9 as A, and I'm going to label this Y as B. So this is what my working out looks like this time. I start with the mathematical version of Pythagoras' theorem. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. And then I substitute in my 12 as C, this distance here, and I substitute in my 9 as A, this distance here. And my B value is my unknown, which is Y. So you'll notice a slight difference here, that the values I've substituted in are on different sides of the equal sign. That is always the case when your unknown is one of the shorter sides, when your unknown is either A or B. I square the 12 to get 144, and I square the 9 to get 81. Now I need to try and solve this equation to find the value of Y. So first of all, I'm going to subtract 81 from both sides. So you'll notice another difference there, that I'm doing a subtract at this stage rather than an addition. And again, that is always the case when you're trying to find one of the shorter sides. 144 take away 81 gives me 63, but 63 is Y squared. So that's giving me this length squared. So in order to find the value of Y, I need to square root my 63. Calculator will give me the answer of 7.93725, which again, I'm going to round to 3SF, 3 significant figures. So the 3 rounds up to a 4. So the length of Y in this example is 7.94 centimeters. Here's another example from me. If you've understood the first two examples, feel free to work ahead of me and answer this question on your own. This time we're asked to work out Y, and it's on the bottom of the triangle, or at least the way the triangle is positioned. But it is actually the hypotenuse. We know that from the hypotenuse's definition. It's the longest side, and it's always opposite the right angle. So Y is the hypotenuse. So this is going to be my C value, and my shorter sides will be A and B. I always start the question the same. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Y is my C value. This shorter length here of 4.2 is my A value. So I've substituted in 4.2. And my B value is 3.9, which I've substituted in there. Remember, when you're labeling A and B, that does not really matter. What's essential, though, is that your hypotenuse is labeled C. 4.2 squared on the calculator gives me 17.64. 3.9 squared on the calculator gives me 15.21. And because I'm working out the longest side, I'm working out the hypotenuse, I've added my two values together to get 32.85. But again, that is the square of this length, and I just want the length. So therefore, I'm going to square root both sides on the calculator. Gives me a length of 5.73149, which I then round to 3 significant figures. So the length of Y here, the length of this hypotenuse is 5.73 centimeters. Again, feel free to work ahead of me in this example if you're understanding how to present your work. When you are answering the questions, you will need to show full working out, a full written method. This time I'm asked to find this length here. We know 15 is the hypotenuse. That's going to be labeled C because it's opposite the right angle and it's the longest side of the triangle. My working out looks like this time. My working out looks like this time. I still start with carb. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. I substitute in my C value, which is 15, my hypotenuse. I substitute in my A value, which is 6.5. And I also substitute in y, which would be my b value in this question. Notice that we are working out a shorter side. So when we substitute in, they are on opposite sides of the equal sign, which means we are expecting to do a subtract later on in the calculation. 15 squared is 225. 6.5 squared is 42.25. Then I'm going to subtract 42.25 from both sides to leave me with 182.75. And again, that is y squared, but we don't want to know y squared, we just want to know y. So we square root both sides. The square root of 182.75 on our calculator gives us 13.51850, which I can then round to 3SF. So the length of y from here to here is 13.5 centimeters. Okay, so here is your first task. So using the examples we've been through so far in the video, I'd like you to find the value of y in each question. For each of the 3 questions, you need to show a complete and full written method, just like I've shown in my previous examples. I would like you to label the triangles correctly with your C's, A's and B's, and I would like you to round your answers to 3SF, just like I've done in the previous examples. Okay, if you'd like to pause the video at this point and have a go at these 3 questions. Okay, welcome back. Answer for the first one, the length of y, so this distance here, is 5.32, rounded to 3SF. As we're working out hypotenuse, we should be doing an addition during our working out. And this would be labelled as C, being the hypotenuse. For our second question, the answer is 13.2 to 3 significant figures. So this distance here is 13.2. Because in this question we're working out one of the shorter lengths and we already know that the hypotenuse is 20, we will be doing a subtract during our calculation. For the third answer, the length of y is 16.9 to 3 significant figures. We are back to working out a hypotenuse. Remember that it's opposite the right angle and it's the longer side. So we should be squaring 12.1, squaring 11.8, adding those 2 results together, and then square rooting that total to find the value of y. Very well done if you've got all 3 of those correct. Okay, so this is your next task. I've displayed on the screen 8 Pythagoras exam questions. I'd like you to work through all 8 questions, again presenting your answer with a full written method. The first 4 questions are very similar to the examples so far in this video. Questions 5 to 8 get a little bit trickier and just need you to apply a little bit of problem solving, a little bit of knowledge, but also Pythagoras' theorem to get your final solutions. If you could pause the video at this point and have a go at all 8 exam questions. Okay, welcome back to the video. I'm just going to go ahead and show you my answers for these 8 questions. My answers look like that. So for questions 5 to 8, I've tried to give you a little indication or a little hint of how you could have approached the question in order to solve what the question was asking you to find. Even though I've just displayed the answers on the screen, your answers should include full written notation showing me how you labeled the triangle and how you used the correct method to get your answer. Very well done if you were able to get all 8 correct answers. Okay, so next step. For the next task, one at a time, I'm going to give you 3 puzzles to solve. You can see that there is a length here labeled length A. I would like you to use your knowledge of Pythagoras, starting with this bottom triangle, in order to find the length of A. So you're going to need to use Pythagoras repeatedly. Notice that all the triangles that are drawn are right angle and they're not drawn to scale. So I would like you to try and solve the puzzle by finding the length of A. If you could pause the video at this point and have a go at this first question. Answer to 3 significant figures. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you have found an answer for the length of A. The length of A should be 2.77 centimeters rounded to 3 significant figures. After the next 2 questions, on the final slide, I will display my full written solution for each of these questions. So you will be able to check your working out, or if you've made an error, see where you went wrong. But very well done if you found that A was 2.77 centimeters. Second puzzle question to have a go at. Works very similar to the question on the previous slide. I'd like you to find the length of B by repeatedly using Pythagoras. Can you pause the video at this point and have a go at this question? Okay, welcome back again. So hopefully you have found the length of B, and if you've done that correctly and rounded to 3SF, we should be dealing with 2.00 centimeters. Very well done if you got that as your final answer. Again, I will display full written method on the final slide so you can check and assess your own work. One more puzzle question to have a go at. This time I'd like you to find the length of C, which is the length from here to here on the green triangle. Again, you'll have to repeatedly use Pythagoras. Could you pause the video at this point and have a go at this question? Okay, welcome back. So hopefully you have an answer for this distance, this length. Your starting point, of course, would be 4 squared added to 4.5 squared, and then that total would be square rooted to give you this distance. But once you had that distance, you would need to subtract 1.5. Your final answer for the length of C should be 3.13 centimeters when rounded to 3 significant figures. Very well done if you were able to find that answer. On the final slide, I'm just going to display my full written solutions for the 3 puzzle questions, for finding A, for finding B, and for finding C. So here are my full written solutions. So this talks you through the process and the repeated Pythagoras in order to find the value of A at 2.77. This is what your working out should look like. So you should be showing me notation, you should be showing me your calculations. You may have even done a little sketch of the triangle at different points. Same for B. This is my calculation and working out for B, and you can see how I got to 2.00 centimeters. And finally, my method and working out for finding C. Very well done if you were able to find the value of A, B, and C. That shows a very good understanding of applying Pythagoras' theorem. Well done.